Good evening. Welcome to the July 30th regular meeting of the Rockville Center Board of Education. Please rise for the pledge. Thank you. Yes. Emergency evacuation exits are at either side on the back. Any correspondence that can be posted has been posted. Are there any students here this evening that would like to address the board? Seeing none. Mr. Gavin, Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam President. Happy summer, everyone. As we enjoy these weeks of summer, I want to extend a huge thank you to our custodians and maintenance workers for their incredible work this season. Thanks to their dedication, our summer projects are well underway, and we are excited to see our two major parking lot projects kick off next week. I also want to acknowledge and thank all of our summer program staff, from ACE and our pre-K program to special education and credit recovery. The staff's commitment to our students has been outstanding. It's been rewarding to see so many students take advantage of the opportunities to learn, and in some cases even get a head start. For instance, just yesterday on a hot summer afternoon, we had 30 students working diligently with two of our English teachers jump-starting their extended essay work. This is a significant increase from previous years and a testament to our program's evolution, specifically offering the Theory of Knowledge class, the TOK class, over 2 years, which is a program change we made a few years ago. Our seniors will have another valuable opportunity when they return to school on Friday, September 12th. This day will be dedicated to a series of workshops designed to help them navigate the college application process, from essays and applications to transcript reviews and a review with their guidance counselors, and have the opportunity to think about the types of schools and types of post-secondary opportunities that they would like to have. Both of those initiatives, both the extended essay support and the senior college workshops, are a direct result from the feedback from our Board of Education. While we often highlight the impact of student feedback on our programs like IB Dance and all the programs that we've gotten in the field hockey team, it's equally important to recognize the crucial role that the board plays in shaping our successful initiatives. So thank you to all of you for your thoughtful suggestions. I also want to let the public know that our UPK expansion at the Village Rec is moving ahead of schedule. So our maintenance staff has already constructed the new classrooms. They are painted, wired, and ready for furniture to be delivered. We will have 72 of our youngest learners at the rec next year, and 42 right now are registered for the JCC, with 1 month to go. And we know we will probably get 5 or 6 kids for the JCC coming. The rec right now, the registration is closed. I want to thank the village, Mayor Murray and Deputy Mayor Baxley, for their cooperation and partnership on ensuring these additional options for our students. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Gavin. Great news all around. Turning to items for discussion, we have a presentation this evening, our strategic plan year 1 update. Mr. Gavin?
Thank you. So here I am again. So I just wanted to give everyone a brief update. We talked about and adopted the strategic plan at the June meeting. I just wanted to give the board just a very brief overview as with the work that's been taking place since that time. So again, we revised our mission. So our new mission statement is up here for everyone to see. It's been posted on the website. So not only has the narrative for the strategic plan been posted, but we also posted the planning grid itself, which kind of outlines the 3 years. That's all on our website. So anyone out there that's watching in TV land, you can go out there and see the entire plan from start to finish. Again, we added a new vision statement, which is our aspirational statement, where we talk about what we envision the district to be. Our mission is the reason we get up every morning, and our vision is where we want to go. Our strategic priority areas are directly related to the board goals that we established this year. So this year, we talked about board goals that would transform and across multiple years. So not just one-shot wonders, but really things that we could sink our teeth into and focus and really emphasize key areas of work here in Rockville Center. So the first one is enhancing student outcomes and opportunities. That encompasses 95% of the stuff we do. All of the programs, all of the sports, all of those things are all covered under enhancing student outcomes and opportunities. Second component is how we pay for it all and how we engage our stakeholders in the discussion about the money that we spend here, and that's financial and budgetary oversight. And then the third component was expanding community partnerships. So we are a community organization for a community. We exist in the community, and we work with a tremendous amount of different partnerships, whether it's university partnerships like Malloy, Adelphi, Stony Brook, Hofstra, or the village in expanding our pre-K, our UPK offerings. So we really wanted to talk about how do we, as a community organization, get out within the community and expand those partnerships. Those are our priorities for next year. So that comes from the board goals from 24-25, and is now the strategic priorities, which in essence are our goals moving forward for the next 3 years. So just to kind of talk about that. And then, of course, we always, how do we measure success? And we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So since June 18th, what have we done? We had our administrator retreat where we had all of the administrators in the district. We spent 2 days, and we outlined all of the different action steps that we wanted to take in terms of our goals and our deliverables. So we first worked in like grade level bands. So the middle school worked with the middle school, the high school worked with the high school, the elementaries all worked together. The next day, we talked about vertical articulation. So how are the steps that we plan on taking for each of our levels in each of those 3 strategic areas? How are they going to, do they make sense, like from a vertical point of view? So we did that as well. We discussed how we're going to roll out the strategic plan with faculty in terms of superintendent's conference days, professional development, faculty meetings and department meetings. And then we identified the different types of regular updates we provide to the Board of Education in terms of July, September, January, February, May, which is also the Board of Education presentation calendar, which is on the website as well. So in terms of enhancing student outcomes and opportunities, what are the things we're working on? This year, in terms of curriculum, instruction, professional learning, and assessment practices, these are some of the areas that we're focused on for next year. What does that look like in terms of like deliverables, outlining deliverables, and outlining action steps? So what we did was we took that and we turned it into like a vertical articulation. So I just gave an example of a snapshot of a spreadsheet that we're using. So for curriculum development and review, we talk about continuing that 5-year curriculum review cycle, and then underneath it, you can see the action steps that we're going to take. So what does that look like? Well, we're reviewing science this year, so there'll be a presentation with recommendations for K-12. We're revising the global 9-10 curriculum, and there'll be documents that we can show for that in terms of like a deliverable. We're revising the 6th grade social studies, the K-12 scope and sequence for writing across the curriculum areas, which has also been a focus of the board. So not only are we doing professional development on the writing revolution, but we're also making an entire scope and sequence of what writing looks like across, not just in writing and ELA, but how does it translate to social studies, how does it translate to science. And then there will be other curriculum documents. Right now, I know K-1-2 have been working on the integrated units this year. So remember, we started with 3 to 5 for the integrated units on the elementary level. This year, it's K-1-2. We are also revising the MYP community project to align with the Seal of Civic Readiness to make sure that we have a plan for increasing Seal of Civic Readiness, and implementing the new revised earth science and biology curriculums for next year, which is coming from the state. So although we just found out that we have the opportunity to consider taking the old bio region, the living environment regions, which we have to talk about as a community with my teachers for 1 more year. I don't know if we want to do that. I think we want to take the new one, just bite the bullet and go, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. Then we also have, again, the new Algebra 2 curriculum as well. So that's like the curriculum area. One of the other areas we talked about was like pathways. So New York State, like we talked about with Blue Ribbon, has talked about establishing pathways and seals for the diploma. So what are the things that we're going to do next year in terms of trying to prepare for that? How are we going to make sure that we have had discussions at the high school and middle school staff about how our students can earn different seals or pathways as they move forward? So there's a couple of seals that are already in existence. One would be the Seal of Civic Readiness. So how would we look and make that in terms of like starting in middle school? What are the things that we could do to qualify for that seal, and how do we make sure as many kids can qualify that for as possible? We're also looking at world language staff, creating a document to promote the seal of biliteracy so that students can have the opportunity to earn that by December of their senior year. So we talked about like the timeline for that, and then creating an exploratory committee to examine the cost and necessary steps to implement the career program. Now, we've talked about this. The career program is a component of the IB program that we currently don't offer, but it does have a lot of things that fit very well with what our students like in terms of we have a very high number of kids taking IB business and a very high number of kids taking business type courses. The career program, or the component of the career program for IB, focuses on career type things like business. So there might be something for us to take a look at that, and that might be something as we determine what programs we want to continue to look at, that might be an area for us to look at for this year. In terms of partnership and community engagement and partnership, these are some of the steps we wanted to take in terms of visibility, developing an alumni network, establishing partnerships with external organizations, and career-based learning pathways for students. So how do we make sure that our students that want to do a career or a skill or an apprenticeship have those opportunities as well? So what does that look like in terms of like action steps? The Alumni Development Network. So some of the things that we want to do right away is we want to create a semi-annual alumni newsletter, and we want to feature some of our alumni in terms of like in the newsletter, hey, did you know so-and-so is, Crystal Dunn? Like, not that most people don't know that, but like, here's an alumni, here's somebody that's, doing well in their field, and we want to feature some of that and create a semi-annual alumni newsletter. We want to establish a LinkedIn profile so that we can start to connect to people as well through social media, and then plan and implement career day. Now we do have different career days already, but when we talked about it vertically, we talked about different ways to implement exposure to career from elementary all the way through the high school, so that you're not just walking in sophomore year and it's the first time you're ever hearing about a career. So we wanted to talk about that. And then obviously partnership building and communication. We want to continue to make sure that we have deliverables like the contracts for the Village, for UPK, Malloy and Hofstra for our dual enrollment classes. And then we want to make sure that we have the log of events for new partnerships. So I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm already talking to another university about potential not only summer opportunities for our kids, but also field trips for our kids. So for example, one of our new programs for next year at the middle school, which is going to be very big, is fashion. And we talked to a university about coming to do a field trip into one of the more famous fashion universities in the entire world, probably the #1 in the entire world. But we don't have a partnership yet, we just have a promise. So before we do that, I do feel cautiously optimistic that we'll get that off the ground, but it would be something that would dovetail. That wouldn't necessarily be a college level class, but it would be a way to expose kids to career and what college could look like if they're interested in the area of fashion. In terms of financial and budgetary oversight, we talked about this as a board since my first day. We talked about transparent budgeting, long-range financial planning, financial efficiency, and taxpayer burden, like understanding how to maintain the tax levy within the state-imposed cap. Stakeholder engagement, how do we make sure we're talking with our state and local legislators to advocate? And we know that we do that very well here in Rockville Center. We have an entire meeting for that, and we do that not just in the meeting, but prior, before, and after. And then let's take a look at our long-term facilities and capital planning, making sure that we have a real understanding of what are the things we need to do, what are the things we want to do. So that's the financial and budgetary oversight. What does that look like in terms of action steps? A lot of these action steps have been historical here. We've done this already, which is like public presentations to the budget. You're doing that, right? You're talking to not only the board and to the public, but you're also talking to the PTA. So our board members come and unpack along with myself or Ms. Rehack, we talk about the budget and what's in there and how it affects the individual schools at every one of the PTA meetings. We want to make sure that we produce a user-friendly budget summary so that not every, sometimes it can get overwhelming looking at some of that data. So we want to make sure that people can digest it, break it down, and understand what's in our budget, and then create and publicize the budget calendar. So really get out there and let everyone know how that would work. And then, of course, for our facilities needs, we're creating a facilities needs assessment. We are aligning our facilities needs assessment with our 5-year capital plan for this year. So this is all work that we've discussed in the past. And we know that we have some buildings that are older that require some more work. Some of our 100-year-old buildings require a lot of work. Some buildings require a little bit less. So that's really like the action stuff. So that's not everything that we did. The document we'd be here for 3.5 hours. But those are just little snapshots in each one of the strategic areas about how we would kind of put that together. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gavin. Comments or questions from board members?
I am, for one, excited about the idea of having an organized framework as we look ahead. I think 2 sort of recent news items have sort of underscored the importance of planning ahead, whether it's instability in federal and state funds, and it's, as you mentioned, the regents adopting the Blue Ribbon Commission recommendations for the Portrait of a Graduate. So this sort of framework can put us in a very, I think, organized spot to take on both of those challenges, and both highlight the importance of planning, not just a year ahead, but for looking 3 to 5 ahead. So I appreciate that while we want to do everything all at once, this gives us a priority list and a chance to ask, does it align with the mission and the vision that we have adopted?
Thank you.
So thank you. And I'm hoping that as word gets out, that we have a new mission and vision statement on our website that we can continue. And I think the alumni partnerships are going to be phenomenal. We have such a great alumni network here that just moving that needle even a little bit is going to bring great opportunities, I think, for our students.
This is a great snapshot, and like you said, there's so much more that's not in the slideshow that's being worked on. And I appreciate how much was put into even crafting this plan, and now the real work of implementing it all is a heavy lift. So thank you for that. And just as we're moving through, just a couple things, if we could make sure we're trying to cast a wide a net as possible in terms of input. So PTA is fantastic and a great partner, but not every family is tapped into the PTA network. So if we can maybe think about ways to get feedback and input from different places as well is one thing. Teachers as well, I think it's very important that teachers are able to comment and reflect and help us revise as we're moving through that, because they're the ones that are ultimately, you know, the boots on the ground, putting it into place and really seeing what's happening in their classrooms, and that's really invaluable feedback. I'm also super excited about the alumni outreach. I think we have so many fantastic graduates that have done such interesting things, and their paths have taken them in directions that they would not have expected as students, and I think it's good for students to see that. The only thing, and again, it's a lot we're undertaking, but I think we have community members who are not alumni, who could also be invaluable assets to tap into, if not this year, maybe second year, but there are so many people out there that could share such invaluable knowledge and expertise. And again, just thank you, and I look forward to where we're going with this. So.
It's funny that we all kind of zoned in on the alumni part of it, but I think for me, agree that we want to do this. We have a great network. I won't call it a concern, but just something to raise is that that's a really big undertaking, so I feel like it needs a home, and I think it needs like a dedicated source of actual effort, because we could say we're going to do that, and then when you really get into it, you're talking about research, identification of the people, you're talking about outreach, you're talking about programming, maybe some fundraising. I mean, this is what whole people do in higher education. You know, they have departments for this. So, you know, what I'm putting on my thinking hat and making sure that students are integrated in what we're doing, it would be great if we have students can help in the effort, because what we've done really well is bringing back the current, like the most recent alumni, and we've lost kind of our touch of some of the ones that are now a decade out or 2 or 3. What better way to connect to some of these people than through our students? It's a different reach when they're hearing from the actual current students that are finding them on LinkedIn. It's project-based. It's giving them a kind of a scope of how to do this project, and I just wonder if there's like a club with an advisor, somebody that we could dedicate to this, having it run under administration on the whole umbrella, but finding ways to involve the students and the schools, I think is going to be huge. And again, I come from a higher ed world where this is such a big, it's what we do, and it's just a big one, and I want to see us do it well. So those are just my ideas about, you know, how we could make it really effective, and I think exactly what we all want to see it be, which is a great network for our students and for our community.
Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate the work that's gone into creating this strategic plan, and really just the the openness to creating a strategic plan in general. I think it's a great decision for the district, and I think it's really going to help us move ourselves forward in a cohesive manner. A couple of just small things. One of the parts of the strategic plan that I feel like I appreciate the most is the emphasis on community engagement. I feel like that's one of the smartest things that we can do, is figure out how we can engage our community in the work that we are doing here. The one piece of that I would love to see added is the family engagement part of it, because I don't think community engagement can exist by itself. I think we also have to think about how we're engaging families. And I know we've talked about this on and off, for the past couple of years, but I would really love to think more about how we are engaging our families in school, how we're bringing them in, offering them opportunities to participate, to be involved in what's going on in our schools, K through 12. And I'd also really like to think about the supports that we can provide for our families to better themselves, to grow their trust in us as an organization. So those are the pieces that I would really love to see added into that part of the strategic plan. Again, is how we can bring in and then leverage our families to support students. With the curriculum piece, again, I think this list is quite good. Definitely work that needs to be done. Just honing in on the social studies part of it, I'm wondering if we also need to think about the human geography piece, as that's your new 9th grade, and that's not really mentioned here. Thinking about what that curriculum document looks like.
No, sorry to interrupt, but we actually have been writing it since June. So we know that we need that document. They were in yesterday. Actually, both John and I met with them yesterday about the AP Hug class. So
Yeah, and
so
I know that.
I might, probably is an oversight on my part, that it was
Yeah.
a deliverable, it might not have been an action step. So
No,
my
that's
part.
fine. Just again, thinking about, obviously, the AP it's very
It's
black
linear.
and white
Yeah.
about what you're supposed to be doing, but also thinking about that our 9th graders are taking this, and what is that skill set that hasn't been developed that the AP might not address as cohesively as we would need it to for a 9th grader, so that they're prepared for that 10th grade class. And then also thinking about that 6th grade class, because now anyone who takes human geo will not have that historical context, because they're missing essentially the history of the beginning of time, and they're jumping in at 1400. So again, really thinking about what that 6th grade course looks like, because it's going to have to do a very good job of teaching that history. And then the last little question I guess I have relates to IB with the career program, which I think is interesting and I think would be an excellent addition. I think my larger question is just the extent to which running the IB program still continues to serve us as an organization, when there are certainly other options, especially thinking about like fiscal responsibility. Is this still within the best interests of the school district? Is perhaps moving to an AP system something that we would want to think about as we begin to, and I don't need an answer, I'm just kind of thinking out loud, listening to people in the district who have, talked about the pros and cons of IB and where that sits before we move to enlarge it. Is it still really working for us?
Okay.
And that's it. Thank you.
So I would just ask, in addition to what my fellow board members have commented on, I love the new vision and mission statements, and I just want to make sure that they're not just known to our staff and our students and our community members, but also shared, owned, and lived. We talked about this when we were talking about revising the statements, that they can't just be words on paper. They have to actually be articulated and communicated to everybody. So I'm just asking to be intentional about that and report back to us in terms of like strategies and how we're going to communicate that out to everybody so that they're aware of it, because it's something that we're proud of putting forth, and want to make sure as we're moving forward in the years ahead that everybody owns it and shares it and lives it. Okay, thank you. Turning to policies, stage 1, we have 3310, public access to records.
Yes, this just adds a new notification provision.
Okay,
From the state.
okay. Okay to move this?
Yep.
3310F, a form that goes with that, notice to employees FOIL request.
Right, connected
Just
to,
update
yep.
it
Okay.
and everything.
Okay to move this as well?
Yep.
Yep.
5631, hazardous waste and handling of toxic substances by employees. Okay to move this?
Yes, again, just changes in the notification section.
Okay. And also a .1, in addition to that, pest management and pesticide usage. Okay to move this as well?
Yes.
5660, school lunch program. Currently at stage 1. Okay to move
I don't
this.
have,
Go ahead.
Yeah,
I don't have a question about the policy. I do have a question, though, about lunch, especially at the elementary school,
okay.
where kids are basically given a card that they can scan and buy lunch. So there doesn't need to be approval from a parent to buy, and there doesn't actually need to be money on the account for a student to buy. So a student could hypothetically charge like $75 in chocolate milk, and the parent would then receive that bill. I think my question is, why do we allow kids to just scan their card? And is that something that we can like discuss? Because I think some parents are a little,
Surprised by the chocolate
yeah,
milk bill?
surprised by a $75 bill
Sounds
for
very,
chocolate milk
Sounds like a real thing.
and/or other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, they absolutely can contact the school lunch office too. They could put a note on the child's file, so when their card gets scanned, it says no chocolate milk or no buying a la carte items, or they can have specific things that show up in association with their count so that the cashier in the cafeteria knows. And they also they know the kids, they get used to it, what they can and can't do. But just the initial step is to have the parent call, and we can address that. And we've done that for some too, that have called.
Is there a way just to like let
Yeah.
parents know that the
Agreed.
kids can do this, and if they do not want their child charging things, just so that they know to call preemptively?
Technically, the policy is not for à la carte
It-
items. The only thing that the cafeteria is supposed to allow them to charge is an actual meal. And it's, again, just based on they don't want to call kids out or make them feel bad if they don't have lunch that day. So the policy is that we'll let you buy it and sort of handle it on the back end. But, I mean, they are not supposed to be able to just order chocolate milk every day without like a balance or anything like that, you know?
Correct. So the meals they have to give, whether they
Yeah,
have
that-
money
and
on
that's
their
fine.
account or not. But this happens either way, because some people do have money on their account, and so they could charge a la carte items. So that's where really they'd have to call and tell us, I don't want my child buying, A, B, C, or D. But for kids that have no money on their account, they shouldn't be getting chocolate milk or any a la carte items. It's just the meal.
Right. So maybe like at back to school night,
Yeah.
it could be just like a little piece of what's presented by the principals, just for people who don't know, or
Yeah.
something along those lines.
In addition to that, I was thinking more like the communication that goes out to families right before school. So can we make sure that the elementary principals are communicating that out in their welcome to the next school year message or whatever it might be ahead of September, making sure that that information's there for parents and families, I think is important. And then maybe a secondary message back to school night is welcomed as well, but getting that information out. Like I know the school nurse has a section and, just making sure that we're communicating that out to families.
Sure, we're working on our school lunch welcome packet too, which includes
Perfect.
everything for free and reduced lunch, for the changes for the upcoming year for free lunch. So part of that
Right.
welcome letter, I can also add something in
That'd be
there
great.
with respect to this.
That would, because it's a middle school issue too, I think, like the snack
Snacks
shack,
are
or
All of the-
whatever they call it.
Snacks are definitely a middle school.
We'll make sure all of our principals are aware. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and just to clarify this, so the last time this particular policy was reviewed was 2018. So in this review, we're bringing it up to compliance with the current New York State regulations on the food service program.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, to move this at the next meeting?
Excuse me.
5661 wellness, also at stage 1?
So I'm
Yes.
gonna ask that we
Yeah.
hold this. First of all, it's lengthy. I think there's some redundancy in some areas. There's some like grammatical things that have to be changed. So I think it would be helpful to give it a cleaner read through and then put it.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's wide-ranging. Again, hasn't been revised since 2007. So these are pretty substantial revisions, and it really covers the gamut from nutrition, healthy choices, physical education requirements, and healthy lifestyles. So I would agree that keeping this in stage 1, giving us some time to, I don't want to use the word digest, but that's what we have
Well
to
played,
do.
Dr. Downing.
Sorry,
Well played.
can't resist a
Very
pun.
witty.
Child
Well
nutrition.
done. I didn't have that on my paper.
That's fine.
Could I just
Yeah.
make one suggestion,
Yeah.
since we're going to be looking at it again anyway?
Mhm.
And I want you to be here for decades, but I feel that we shouldn't put people's personal email addresses in policies, because policies then need to be, we typically don't put people's names or email addresses in the body of a policy.
Agreed.
I think we should come up with a email address that's like generic, that goes to your email address. Because if you are not the designee anymore, or, I mean, again, I want you to be here. This is not about that. It's more, I worry about that. We don't normally
Yeah.
do that. So that was something that stood out to
Mrs.
me.
Celebrity, can you make that note, please?
Thank you.
Okay, and then we'll hold this and we'll open it back up in our September regular meeting for stage 1.
Great.
Thank you. Currently at stage 3, 5685, max temperature for buildings and facilities. Okay to move this to approval at the next meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and then just a note, since we're talking about policies, on the agenda tonight for approval, we have policy 7317, use of internet and enabled devices during the school day. Mr. Gavin's going to speak to this in his opportunity for superintendent momentarily. But I just want to make sure that everyone knows that we're approving that tonight because we have to. The state has given us a short time span in terms of approving a policy, and we will make sure that our families and community is aware of our intention in terms of how we're going to enforce that policy, and Mr. Gavin will speak to that. Actually, I think right now. Opportunity for superintendent, Mr. Gavin?
Well timed, Madam President, well timed. So tonight, the Board of Education will be considering for adoption policy 7317, which is the use of internet-enabled devices during the school day. This is a direct result of Governor Hochul's initiative to reduce or eliminate the opportunity for students to have access to cell phones, particularly cell phones. It really came from cell phones, but other internet-enabled devices during the school day, personal internet-enabled devices during the school day. This all plays from research that has found that our students are inundated with screens, and that this can sometimes have a negative effect on students' mental health. Matter of fact, Jonathan Haidt, who is one of the major researchers in this area, I just saw a stat from him the other day that the average 14 or 15-year-old that has 5.5 hours of screen time. So 5.5 hours of screen time, which quite honestly, a lot of people can look at their phone and see that they have between 4 and 5 hours of screen time. If that continues for the course of their life and they live to be 83 years old, that's 25 years straight of scrolling. 25 years of scrolling. So now, I'm not going to say that I've never scrolled for more than 20 minutes. I certainly have. But you could look up and a quarter of your life is, or more than almost a quarter of your life is wasted. So I do think that Governor Hochul's position on trying to eliminate these kind of distractions is really important, and it's good for students' mental health. The other thing that was in that research was that kids don't feel good about scrolling. So they're spending 4 or 5 hours a day doing it, and 68 to 70% of the kids that do it don't feel great about it, or don't feel better as a result of doing it. So we're spending a lot of time on something that doesn't have a good effect on us. So keeping it out of the school day and keeping it, to distraction-free when they're here to learn and they're here to socialize face-to-face, I think is really important. So that policy, that's why I wanted to kind of give a little background about why that policy is in place, or will be in place after the board considers it. It is part of the governor's mandate that we adopt the policy, today, so that we have that in place. We've already communicated with parents. So we've already sent out a letter to parents from me. We've also will be following up this summer in August twice from the buildings, particularly the high school and the middle school. Once from the elementary, it's less of a problem at the elementary, but twice from the middle school and high school, reminding our parents of a number of things. Number one, your phone is going to be stored in your locker. So that's where your phone needs to be stored. We do not want it on your person. If your lacrosse shorts are glowing that day, we're going to confiscate your phone and ask your parents to come get it. So most likely there'll be a warning the first time it happens, but we know we'll recognize this is a shift change, particularly here at the high school for the older students. The ninth graders will be fine. They're used to this at the middle school. The middle school, this will not be a shock. But for some of our older students, this will still be a little bit of a shift. So that will be enforced, and we will have all of our faculty involved in that enforcement, not just administration. Okay? It is important to know that for all of our parents, students still have the opportunity to contact home, and you have the ability to contact your child through our main office number. If there's an emergency or anything like that, I need to get in touch with my child right now, contact the main office. We'll call them down, we'll get them on the phone, you can take care of whatever you need to take care of in terms of delivering that message. So that's important to have and understand. The second thing that's important to know is that students will not be suspended from carrying their phones. Like, we're not going to turn around and say, hey, by the way, you have your phone, you're out for 3 days. That's not happening, all right? The law and the policy specifically prohibit that. So I just wanted to make that clear as well. I'm saying there's no sanction. There might be a sanction, especially for repeat people that violate it. But I just wanted to make sure that people don't think that if their child comes to and forgets and keeps their phone in their pocket and they get called down, they're going to get a suspension or a mark on the permanent record, which sometimes we hear about. So that's important to know too. The other component I think that's really important is this is particularly for our older students. This means no MacBooks in school. So you have to use the Chromebook, the district issued Chromebook. So this is a shift, particularly for our seniors this year, some of whom have been using as juniors their own personal MacBook. So they need to use their district-issued Chromebook and not bring in their MacBook. That was stated in the initial letter that went home. It will be stated several more times, and we will reinforce it. So that's really important to know. That also means, and this is for every level, the internet watches, no bueno. So we can't have any Apple Watches in the class, and even down to our elementaries, that's their first foray into the digital world. So we'll ask student to remove it, we'll take it, and we'll either confiscate it, give it back to them at the end of the day the first time, or ask their parents to pick it up if it's a pervasive problem, and we'll contact the parents. So those are all things. That also means like your AI-enabled glasses. I don't want to see anyone in here coming in with the Ray-Bans that now can read everyone's face and record everything, please. So all of those internet-enabled devices are banned from the school effective this policy. We have met with the student government to talk about this. We have met with different groups of students. We will continue to do that next year. We also had an advisory group from administrators and teachers on the middle school and high school level to talk about practical ways to do that. We're continuing. We're going to have a follow-up meeting after the first 2 weeks. So Ms. Flanagan already scheduled it, so I'll meet with them again. How's it going? What are the things we need to do to tighten up so that our teachers have a voice at the table, our administrators have a voice at the table, and we do this in a way that makes sense for kids. I know that the middle school and high school principals will also be talking with student government to make sure that everyone is on the same page in terms of how this plays out. And this will be a topic of conversation at Meet the Teacher Night, I'm sure. So in terms of our communication efforts, there will be a full-on blitz in terms of trying to make sure that everyone knows this. I know that it has been in the papers quite a lot. I know that it's been in media quite a lot. But that doesn't mean everyone kind of said, oh, now or this school year, it's this school year. So that happens effective now, and I think we're in a pretty good shape to do that. So I wanted to give everyone the background on that.
That's it? Okay. Okay, thank you. Opportunity for board members, Ms. Messier.
Just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's working so hard this summer to make sure that our school buildings are ready to open in September. Thank you to our faculty and staff that are working our summer programs. I know they're a huge highlight for so many of our kids, our summer ACE and program at Covert. So just thank you, to everyone for everything you're doing, and I hope the community is enjoying their summer.
Thank you. Mrs. Hackett?
Yeah, echo the thank yous, and just wanted to congratulate the class of 2025 again. The high school graduation was fantastic. Our speakers were amazing. Really nice celebration there. 8th grade celebration as well, really great. And I know all of our 5th graders too moving on. So besides the custodians and the summer staff, also want to thank in advance everybody who's helping with the transitions, because we have lots of them coming up between UPK and elementary, middle, and even our high school students going off to college. Congratulations. And let's stretch out the Sunday of summer, known as August, starting on Friday.
Thank you. Mrs. Gruner?
I'm just going to echo the sentiments expressed and leave it at that for today.
Great.
Thank you.
Dr. Downing?
Thank you. I hope everyone's having a great summer. Welcome. Great to have Mr. DiTomaso with us. And I wanted to thank Mrs. Gruner, Mrs. Celeberti, and our district council for keeping our policy discussions moving, even though they are lengthy through the summer months. It's important work. And on that note, I am just reporting into the board that I attended the summer law conference 2 weeks ago. to keep up to date on all of the recent changes to New York State law, as well as recent court decisions that could impact our policies. Today, there was a webinar regarding effects to school funding from the recent federal reconciliation bill, and so we'll be watching all of these changes to see how they impact us at the district level, and it's important for all of us to keep continuing to advocate for appropriate funding for our schools. And that's, again, why our strategic plan is so important. We know what it takes to be able to fund all of the programs that we know are successful for our students, and so it's crucial to prepare in advance. So thanks for all the work on that.
And thank you, Dr. Downing, for attending all of the webinars and for also being part of the policy committee with Mrs. Gruner. And I look forward to attending the Leadership and Education event this upcoming weekend with Mrs. Gruner and Mrs. Messier, and we'll report back to the board what we learn up there in our September meeting. And I also want to welcome Mr. DiTomaso to the dais and welcome him as our interim assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction. I wish everybody a continued happy and safe summer. Opportunity for visitors. The public is reminded to address questions or remarks to the board through its president. Is requested to refrain from making any direct references to students or staff members that could be considered critical of their performance or their character. Such references to individual students or staff members are inappropriate in a public forum and should instead be conducted in private conversation with appropriate members of the staff. The public is asked to state their name and address and limit their comments to 3 minutes. Hi.
Thank you, Madam President, for the Miranda warning.
Thank you.
I get each month.
Welcome.
Jeff Greenfield, citizen taxpayer, Yuba Court. I want to report to the board on my attendance at the BOCES meeting. I introduced the BOCES board to the world of Jeff Greenfield, citizen taxpayer. I told them it was totally unacceptable, a 35%, $1 million increase in transportation budget. I gave them my proposal to use the abandoned MISBA nice bus garage in Rockville Center for electric buses and CNG, and asked them to put together a task force. It could only be used for transportation. I explained to them my research and my public capacity as an assistant or as chair or vice chair of the Nassau County Planning Commission. Before the meeting started, the president came up to me and said, "We're not going to be able to answer you today." I said, "I'm used to that at Rockville Center for attending all these years. I never get an answer right away. I understand that." I followed up and I told them that if I don't get an answer, I'm going to News 12 and taxing Long Island, because it is. But I'm here to appeal to the school board, more than just hearing from Jeff Greenfield. I'm going to appeal to Lynbrook, where I'm also a citizen taxpayer, that I think you have to write a letter to the, especially when you do your budget preparation, that you don't expect another increase. I told them, in my mind, it'd be cheaper to send the kids by Uber rather than the one bid transportation contract. And I'll continue to follow up with them, but I think the school board has to also. At the last meeting I attended, I asked about a policy on overtime. I learned about chocolate milk today, and we spent a lot of time on that. But a fiscal policy on overtime, I think, is necessary, and we need some controls on overtime. And I asked, do we have a policy? And I couldn't get a yes or no answer. So I guess no answer means we don't have a policy, and I urge you to have a policy. We have 1,800 policies here. We need a policy on overtime. We got to control those costs. And where's our student member? I thought we were supposed to have a student member.
She could not attend this evening.
Who is the student member? It's not on the
Callie Mann.
website.
We appointed her at the reorg meeting on July 1st.
What's the name?
Callie Mann.
And she's a senior?
She was unavailable to attend this evening.
She's a junior?
She's a current junior.
How was the selection
The
process?
student body elected her.
Oh, okay. And she'll have a seat at the table?
Of course she will, when
Okay.
she's able to attend, yes.
But she's not on the website as listed?
We can add her, that's fine.
Okay.
We can add that.
I was looking. I pay attention to the website. I love the idea of more alumni. I'm the only one in the room, I think, here that's an alumni.
No, we have another alumni.
Okay. Okay, Janet, okay, very good. I from kindergarten right through? No. Okay. Okay, I have my entire, and I tried to get a very prominent alumni years ago involved in making a donation for a scoreboard, and the school board turned it down. because Howard Stern's condition was that his name had to be on there. And the school board didn't want that. But I think there's opportunity. There's a lot of prominent alumni out there. But to have a meaningful program, who's going to run this and who's going to head it up? That's what I came to ask after hearing about it. It just can't be in a
Understood.
document. Do
I
we
think that
have
was
someone
I think that
designated?
question was raised by a board member earlier this evening, and that will be
Yeah, I
addressed.
think I
yeah.
heard that. I
Yep.
echo that. We need someone
Thank you.
dedicated to it. Okay, enjoy the rest of the summer.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to me.
Of course. Anybody else? Okay. May I have a motion to approve items for action K1 through N11?
So moved.
Second? Any questions?
I actually have a question
Yeah.
on consent letter N, number 4, approval of contracts, curriculum and instruction. Can we just hear a little bit more about the purpose of this contract?
Sure.
Sure. This is a contract with Annalise, who's been doing some professional development in our district for the last 2 years. These are follow-up days on that professional development. Those are predominantly at the elementary and middle school level. So they do it's mostly elementary. But those are additional in-person days for Annalise, who does, again, who's been working with us and providing PD in math for the last 2 years, I believe.
And that's fine. I mean, a follow-up is, I guess we need to continue what we've started. I guess my larger question is, I was just curious if we don't have someone in the district who would be certified and able to deliver this kind of PD, and this is an expensive contract.
Yep. I think this is a combination. We have both in-house, so Mr. Accardi delivers a number of different PDs. We also have our math teachers that deliver PDs, but they have also, Annalise has trained the math teachers, the math implementation teachers, and she's also training Mr. Accardi, so she's done she's very well received by the teachers, and we think it's a worthwhile investment.
I also had a similar question. It's my understanding that I think this is the last year that's planned for this PD, correct? So the
Yep.
next year, we are not using the external consultant anymore.
Great.
Effective next year.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Any other questions? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you,
Congratulations,
everyone.
you were just approved, you don't even know it.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
It's under consent agenda.